we're in 5, 4, 3. I don't know. I'm counting for no reason.
The show's going live.
Is it
We're live.
live?
We live. We live.
Live on Facebook.
All right. So here we are. Welcome to our Schreiner Life segment on music. Sorry we're running a little behind. We had some technical difficulties and no IT department to work this. So it's me. And we're here again with David Garrels, Matt Goodwin, and we're joined by our two special guests tonight. First, I want to introduce Katie Liao, who is, where are you at tonight, Katie?
San Antonio.
She's all the way in San Antonio. And then our special guest tonight is Big Joe Walker. Joe, you're up in Dallas?
Yeah.
All right. So here we are. Tonight's topic, and the reason we have Katie and Joe with us is our topic is music. And so you can see I'm wearing one of my favorite band's t-shirts in preparation for tonight's show. So I have a series of questions that we're going to ask our guests, and we're going to go through those and talk about different kinds of music, different genres of music, but mainly what we like. And so my first question is, and this one's a trick question, what is the last song you heard on the radio today? Most recent.
Hey. Man, most recent for me, I don't know the song, but the artist was Lindsey Sterling.
Lindsey Sterling.
I usually listen to her album. Yeah. She rocks it on that violin.
Really good. Does it have to be radio, or you mean like the last song we heard?
No, it's something you heard in your car or on your phone. The last thing you listened to that wasn't a tape, a CD, or a record. Could be Spotify.
Okay, cool. Well, on Spotify, I guess then I Want to Break Free by Queen, the last song that came up.
That's the last song. Okay. What about
And
you?
I listened to a song on Spotify called Georgia by Vance Joy.
Okay. Vance Joy. Joe was technically difficulted out of this. Maybe he heard the question and said no. Or maybe he had to turn his phone off and see what his last song was. Hopefully he joins us and his phone didn't die. But my last one was actually William Clark Green's She Likes the Beatles. So that was my last one that I just listened to. And one of the things that I've enjoyed about Spotify recently, and this isn't a commercial for Spotify or any sort of platform, that's just the one that I use, is at the end of the year they give like the most songs you played this year, the band that you played the most, these things, and you can see sort of how you evolve over time with music. And one thing I've noticed about myself is it seems like every year or even within seasons, there's certain songs that define certain seasons of my life. So that's the next question. The next question is, what are some of those songs and what season of your life are highlighted by those songs for you? It doesn't have to be a favorite song. And I'll start as an example. So there's a song called All-Star by Smash Mouth. And it defines a season in my life when Jude was probably at his most enjoyable. So my son, and he would sing that song constantly, and we would record him singing it, and he loved it. And so that song defined a season as a father for me. There's another song called Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue that really defines a football season for me in high school, because I would play it constantly before games. And it was just one of those, I think it was my senior year in high school. And I played it over and over. And then there's another one called Summertime Girls by LFO, which is a horrible song. But it was my first year as a camp counselor at a summer camp, and they played it all summer long. So every time I hear the song, I think about my time as a camp counselor. So there's 3 songs that sort of define different moments of my life that are tied specifically to that. Every time I hear that song, I think about that time in my life.
Who's next?
How about you, Katie?
Well, to kind of connect to what you were saying about Jude, my brother when he was in the first grade learned the song Crocodile Rock as like a part of like a speed reading competition that his like class was doing. And so every time I hear that song, I just remember my brother being really little and singing that all the time. And so that's a really good memory I have. And then I think I kind of grew up with Taylor Swift. So as I like listened to her albums, like I can definitely remember like when they came out and what like stage of life I was in. And so she has an album called Fearless, and that kind of was like my middle school, like starting high school phase. So I really cherish a lot of those songs. And then one of my all-time favorite songs is actually Your Song by Elton John. And it's just like a family song that I really like. And so there's some different ones there.
Cool. Those are good.
All right, for me, see, I guess when I was younger, I was a kid. I used to hang out with my Uncle David a lot. He's who I'm named after. Kind of like he was my superhero, right, of my world. And he was a lot older than me, and he brought me around with all the other friends of his, right, to read comic books at their house and stuff like that. And that's how he taught me to read, was on X-Men comics. But we used to listen to a song all the time called Crusader by a band called Saxon. It's like a super like 80s metal band type of thing. But every time I hear that song now, like it takes me back to that actual time period. I remember sitting in his room and reading those books, and like it brings the smells and everything back to you. So as a young kid, that's probably one of those songs. When early in college, when I met my to-be wife, there was a guy called Madishahu who came out, and he sang a song called "Unique As My Dove." And the whole song was about searching for the other half of your soul, right? And the person that you're destined to find and fall in love with. So I played that a lot for Brandy in those days. So love that song. And then when my first kid was born, Samara, Sweet Child of Mine, took on a completely different meaning from Guns N' Roses than it did when I was younger, right? And so because she had the blue eyes and she has that, that hair, kind of brunette hair and stuff. And so since then I chose a different song for each one of my kids, and that's been the one that stuck with me for her. And so those are my top three.
I would say I'm not real good at remembering the songs as far as artists and things like that goes, but the different kind of genres and pieces, like growing up, my dad played in an old rock and roll band. He was a drummer. So kind of like the 60s, 70s, 80s rock, bring back a lot of good memories. Any of those songs, right? I mean, there is a point in time I could belt those out pretty good. Phil Collins, right? My mom is a huge Phil Collins fan. So, anytime that a song of Phil Collins comes up, I'll think of her. Dave Matthews, in college, that was a thing we listened to, right? We'd listen to him. We used to, skip classes on Friday to drive to Houston for a concert, and then just to drive back to college, back to campus after the concert, right? Stuff like that. Becky and I used to do with friends. And then when the girls were born, Jack Johnson has a lot of kind of deep meaning songs. I grew up as a surfer. He was a surfer, so there's a connection there to listen to his music. And it fit really well when you're up at 3 a.m. trying to help get your love of your life back to sleep. And you need a lullaby and you don't know any, and you can just put Jack Johnson on and you can kind of help kind of calm them down to get them to go back to bed. So Jack Johnson for me has that deep connection with the girls.
Yeah. So, that's one of the things that I love about music is the idea that it has such a strong connection emotionally to things. And so I think people that really get into music see that. But sort of changing directions on the question. The next question I have is, we've changed the way in which we consume music. We used to, and Caitlin, this may be different for you now than it was for me as a kid. You used to get an album, and you would listen to that album from beginning to end. And there were magic things on the album. So you had the A side and the B side of records and of tapes. And then we went to CDs, and you really got rid of the A side and the B side. And there was a magical 1, 7, and 11 that artists tended to put their better songs at 1, 7, and 11. But either way, we would get an album and we would consume the album. You would lay on the floor in your bedroom and just listen to every song on the album. And so albums had themes, albums had really well engineered. So the question I ask is, thinking back to albums, what would you say is the greatest album ever, from top to bottom? So greatest album. Now, again, we mostly, we're making a cake. We mostly listen to singles now. I mean, I don't know that I've listened to any Jason Isbell or William Clark Green albums, but I know a lot of their songs. So greatest album.
I don't know about greatest album for me, but the one album that I could just play over and over again, consistently, both CDs, right? The one, number 1 and 2, was Pink Floyd, the Pulse album.
Oh,
I played that over and over again until certain songs would come on, and the first note, I knew what song it was. I mean, I wore that CD out.
So for me, welcome back, Joe. For me, the greatest album. That's okay. The greatest album ever for me, because top to bottom, every single song on it I love, was Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses. So my favorite album from top to bottom. Now, there are a lot of other albums I like better, but I think that one, every single song on that album I like. And so I always put that as my number 1 album.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that one. I think that's the best. That's the best album that I think I've ever listened to, or whatever, for the exact same reasons. As far as my favorite album to listen to over and over again, it's going to be Hemispheres by Rush. I think it's so good. I like the storytelling in that one. Mm-hmm. My favorite song on the album is The Trees, but super good album. But yeah, the best one probably ever made commercially and everything, in my opinion, is Appetite for Destruction.
Okay, my answer is kind of cheating, but when I was probably in the 7th grade, my cousin made me a mixtape, and it had all the 2000 jams, and she choreographed, or not choreographed, but she selected the order and wrote little messages about each song. It has Jimmy Eats World on there, and Destiny's Child, and just some of the greatest songs ever. And so that's one of my favorite albums to listen to, and I memorized the order in which the songs would play. So as soon as one ended, I knew which song was coming on next.
Cool. What about you, Joe? Favorite or best album? Not necessarily favorite. What do you think's the best album ever?
Best album ever made.
Top to bottom.
Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, that's good.
Every single song on there is a classic. Just record, or it's a toss-up between Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Keys of Life or Boyz II Men's self-titled album, Boyz II Men.
That was a good one.
Great album. Yeah.
Better than Cooley High Harmony?
Way better than Cooley High Harmony. That one had Bended Knee, Water Runs Dry, I Make Love to You.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yeah, that's true, but it didn't have ABC BBD though, you know what I'm saying?
East Coast Family.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Okay, so next question that I have for us is, again, tying to mood. What song that no matter what, when you hear it, it puts you in a good mood, and why?
All right, I'll go first on that one. It's that song, "Morning Person." And knows this song. A lot of you guys know this song. I play it a lot in the early mornings, especially if I'm not having a good day. As Julian Smith is the guy who sings it or whatever. He was a YouTube sensation or whatever. But the whole song's about being a morning person in the morning, and I'm not. And so when I play that song, man, it pumps me up and I dance to it and I'll play like 10 times in a row and drives people nuts. That's probably, no matter what, that song gets me in a good mood.
Can I cheat just a little bit, Charlie?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because I got 3 of them. In light of Bill Withers' passing, "Lovely Day" is a record that lovely, lovely day, lovely day. That just puts me in a great mood. The first would definitely be Stevie Wonder. I'm trying to figure out which one because all of them put me in a great mood. But I think the song "As" by Stevie Wonder be number 1. And then my guilty pleasure that puts me in a great mood is a song called by Lit, My Own Worst Enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah, good one.
What about you, Matt?
For me, it's probably the most recent, and it's just connected to a movie. Is "Rubber Band Man" by the Spinners.
Yeah.
That was such an iconic introduction to the Guardians within the movie that I don't know. I hear it and there's a lot of emotion that is attached to that song because of how it was introduced to me. So every time I hear it now, it just brings a smile to my face.
Awesome.
I'm also going to share too. So, like, I think my number 1, for some random reason, is "My Maria" by Brooks and Dunn. I don't know why, but that song just always puts a smile on my face. And then a second one is "Everybody Wants to Rule the World" by Tears for Fears, I think is the one that sings it. That's also a song that always puts a smile on my face.
Very cool.
Nice.
That's a good one.
Those are good. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to say mine are one was a song that really I heard before I went to college. It's been around for a long time, but every day in college we would wake up to it. And "Don't Worry, Be Happy" by Bobby McFerrin, and always makes me happy. And then one more recent that I was introduced to, having a now 8-year-old stepdaughter, "Space Unicorn" by Perry Grip. Every time I hear that "Space Unicorn," it just makes me laugh and smile. I can't not smile even thinking about the song. So those songs that change your mood. Now, which brings me to my next question on music. Dream as big as you want, and you can even go back in time. But if you could see one band live, who would you want to go see?
Yeah, mine is super easy. I'd want to go see Queen live at Wembley Stadium. That's the show I want to see. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see that. I'd love to go see that show.
Oh man, that's hard, Charlie. Man, I'm gonna have to go with. Gosh, I would want to see Michael Jackson, just because I want to experience I believe just with seeing all those old videos. You remember how they used to have ambulances lined up outside because people would literally faint? I just want to be around that type of energy and see what that type of energy feels like with that many people all on one accord, just loving the music to another level.
Sure. I don't know if I could go back probably to it. I'd want to get the most for probably my buck, and I don't know. I'd probably want to go back and go to Woodstock because of just the lineup, right? I mean,
yes.
Just so many people in one place. I mean, that's where I'd want to. That's where I'd want to go. Yeah,
that's a good one, Matt.
Yeah.
I think my answer would probably be Elton John. I was pretty bummed when I missed his farewell tour last year, and So that's probably the one that hurt the most. They didn't get to go see. So.
Oh, if he's anything like
That's
Ozzy
what I'm
Osbourne, if he's
They'll
anything
never-
like Ozzy Osbourne, he'll have multiple farewell tours.
Yeah, that's like George Strait said he was having a farewell
I
tour.
hope so.
So
George
you're
Strait
saying
the
you'll
other
pay
one,
me how
like-
much money to sing? Oh yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, like I don't have to tune my own guitar, just show up on stage.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I'll come back.
I'll do that. Mine. So if time and space were not a stopper, I think I would want to go back to England and go into London, and I would want to see the Beatles before they got big. See, one of my favorite things about music is to see bands in small venues. I wouldn't want to go to Wembley. I wouldn't want to be. I mean, I would want to go to those big shows, but the best shows I've ever been to, I'm on the front row with like 10 people, and the band is awesome, and you're feeling the music, and then you're gonna go to Whataburger with them afterwards. Those are the best shows, and so that I would kind of want to go back in time and see a young Beatles or some of these bands before they got big. What made them magical back then? Is that magic still there? And I think it would be for someone like that. But I would want to go back in time and see the Beatles before they got big.
Send them in some pub in Liverpool or something. Yeah, it'd be crazy.
Just in some pub, they've been playing for 4 hours straight. People throwing beer at them. These guys are still rocking it. Maybe even before Ringo was the drummer.
That's crazy.
One of my favorite music quotes of all time is the Beatles. They were interviewing John Lennon, and they asked him, they said, "Hey, do you think Ringo Starr is the best drummer in the world?" And he said, "He's not even the best drummer in the Beatles." That's horrible. All right. So along that line of questioning, what is your favorite concert that you've ever been to? Small or large, and why?
Oh, that's tough.
Man, for me, we took a trip as a family I think it was just a SeaWorld or something, but the Beach Boys were playing. And growing up, we were really into surfing and the beach scene. So it was, for us as a family, it was a really fun time. And it was just a lot of fun. Their songs are just fun. They just kind of make you feel good. Everybody there was having a good time. And it was just like a hangout in the park and listen to the Beach Boys play.
They're cool.
I think I'm gonna have to go with my greatest concert I've ever been to was Aerosmith. And 2 reasons. They were absolutely incredible. Steven Tyler, I think, is one of the greatest singers, like really in the history to make records. And I really don't think people give him his due credit of being a phenomenal vocalist. But the second part was, have you ever been to shows and never realized how many great songs a band has made? And that was kind of with Aerosmith. It was just like, oh, wow. Oh, what? Yes. It's just kind of, they just kept hitting me with surprises. And I'm like, I can't believe I forgot this was Aerosmith, just like Dreamer or Dream On, like, Love in the Elevator, like all these records that they were playing and they were nailing it. You know what I'm saying? Like it was best concert. I have to give it to. Absolutely.
Caitlin, what do you think?
I think probably the very first concert I ever went to, I was really young and it was Enrique Iglesias, and I was like a mega fan for my age. And to this day, I have like choreography memorized from the dancers on stage just because of like the impression it left on me. But I'm really a big fan of like a smaller concert environment too. I've seen a few at a venue in Austin at a venue called Emo's, and I really like seeing concerts there just because they're really intimate and like you're in the front row. And I've seen Chelsea Cutler, who's like one of my favorite artists, there a few times, and so I would definitely recommend small concerts.
Yeah, my favorite concert I've ever been to is definitely Andrew WK. When we had him on SFA's campus, I don't know if y'all know who that guy is. He sings that all the songs are about partying. It's really all the songs like "Let's get a party going, let's get a." That's his song. We party hard, right? But that was the loudest thing I've ever been a part of in my life, and I was on the stage crew, so got to meet him and everything. But he was playing so loud, and his band was muted so much. I had to put earplugs in, and we had to go hold the Marshall stacks on the stage because they were falling off. So that was my job, was to hold the speakers, and that show just rocked. It was so much fun. His energy was crazy, and I was like, man, I wondered if every band played like that. No one would listen to music; you'd all be dead, because he was so loud. And I think that was in the I can't remember. That was in the auditorium, really, where we have
Yeah, it was Turner Auditorium.
Turner
We were
Auditorium.
supposed to have it outside, but it rained.
That was a wild show. So that's definitely my favorite because I got to be part of the vibe, and I was part of the music.
They were that loud in Turner Auditorium?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the stage is a theater stage, so it has that it bounces a little bit because of the hydraulic lift, I guess it was. And so they're jumping up and down. He had two rhythm guitarists and a lead guitarist. It's so loud. And so they were knocking the speakers off of the place, and so we had to go hold on to them. That was a lot of fun.
Oh wow.
So my favorite concert that I've ever been to is probably got to be in high school. We would drive to College Station, a place called Vertigo. I don't even know if it's still there. And one time we went and saw a band called MU330, and they're like a ska punk band. And there's like 12 of these guys. They've got trombone players, trumpet players, sax player, guitar players, multiple guitar players. Just one guy that just dances. That's like his whole job. And this tiny little stage in this little club in College Station. But what I liked about it was the memories surrounding the show. Getting there, we would stop at the gas station on the way. My brother and David, you were with us, weren't you, for that show? Yeah. And so we drove all the way out there in 2.5 hour drive to get there, do the show. We got to eat before we go back. So we go to Whataburger, of course, in the middle of the night in Texas, where else are you going to eat? We go there, and man, there's the band. They're all hanging out with us, and we're talking music, having a good time. And we stayed in Whataburger till like 4 a.m, and ended up getting back, and the sun was coming up, pulling into the house. And it was just overall, from beginning to end, such a great like bonding moment with me, my brothers, and David, and driving all the way out there. So small venue, small band, just a great time. So that was my favorite concert I've ever been to. Yeah. So Katie Burke said Willie Nelson was her best concert. Beyond concerts and beyond, who is your favorite artist right now that you listen to on a day-to-day basis?
I think my answer for that would probably be John Bellion. He's like a pop artist. He's like really big on Spotify. He's not really on the radio yet. But he just puts like a lot of truth into his music, and I really enjoy it.
My favorite artist right now that I've really been just into right now is John Mayer. Just because obviously during this time I've been doing a lot of songwriting, which Charlie, you and I got to get together. Now we got Zoom, we do write some songs.
Yeah, let's do it.
But I just think he's one of the most prolific songwriters really of our time. And I think a lot of people, that it's kind of cool to not like John Mayer, but he is truly one of the best songwriters and one of the best musicians that I think is like his songsmith is incredible. So that's what I'm really obsessed with right now, is just John Mayer records. And he's been consistently great, like just through time. Absolutely.
Mine's interesting because my favorite bands are mostly rock and roll, metal, and punk rock. But the two bands, the two artists that I think have equal billing right now on my playlist are Jason Isbell and Reckless Kelly. And so, for
Man,
different
Charlie,
reasons,
wait, I take mine back. I love Jason, man. God, no, he's so good.
but Jason, for the same reasons that you were saying for John Mayer, he's just such a good songwriter, and he's so much heart and soul into his music and his songs, and I really appreciate it. Reckless Kelly, though, they're a 90s sort of Texas country band who've been, I mean, they've been around since the 90s, and I love going to watch them live, but I find their music easy to play. And so I end up listening to them a lot because I like playing along with it, and then I like to sing along. And they don't sing in a hard key. I mean, Willie Braun is he's not going above the staff when he sings, and so it's easy to hang with him. So I like that.
Wicked Twisted Road, man. Like Reckless is there's some incredible writers too.
Yeah,
man, talking about Jason Isbell. Jeez, man. Last of My Kind. Cover Me Up. Man.
Yeah.
God,
those are good songs.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm. I think for me right now, it's Incubus.
More coach.
I have probably 2 or 3 other albums saved in my phone, and I just play them like out of this one album together. And like the other day, I was outside working, and I've repeated through the collection of songs, probably 20 plus songs, the whole day, over and over and over and over again. So I like the sound and the variations that they bring to their music.
Yeah. Good
band. Geez, I don't know. I listen to so many different things, and I still, I guess, if it's something I'm listening to over and over and over again, I guess here lately I've been going back and listening to a lot of Pink Floyd, and mainly because it's a inspiration for a D&D campaign that I'm writing. But so going back and I'm listening to their full albums, right? So starting at the beginning and just kind of working through each album one at a time, and trying to find the themes within their albums. So I think it's a lot of fun because you hear the journey of a character through a lot of their music. So that's something I'm really enjoying. Kind of going back, and now that Spotify allows you to be able to get all that. It's a lot of fun.
Very cool. So the next question I have is going to take a little thought. So and I'm going to give my answer to help you guys prompt your answer. But the question is, you get to put together a band, and you can choose, living or dead, any artist to be in this band. So you get to choose your lead singer. You get to choose a lead guitarist. So you have a singer, a lead guitarist, a rhythm guitarist, a bass player, and a drummer.
I'm going to write this stuff down.
So you get to form a super band. 5 people can be in this band. Anyone you choose. Now, your singer can also play piano, because I know that Katie's an Elton John fan.
Yeah, I was about to say, we got to have some piano players in there now.
But you don't get a separate spot for that. You only get the 5.
So anybody that you want to play in your band, essentially.
Anybody. Now you've got to also think that, you might get challenged on this if you're throwing in a Dave Mustaine with Jason Isbell. 2 different genres of music. They're both excellent guitar players, but I don't know that their style necessarily collides in a way that makes good music. So you might want to consider that too. Are you forming a rock band, a country band? Are you forming just a super mega band? But thinking about this, so I'm going to give you guys a few moments to think, because I've already formulated my answer. And then, yes.
What is the goal for the band?
The goal for the band is going to be to make music that will blow people's minds.
Okay, because I didn't know if we were like listening room bands,
no.
or
No, this is just fun. So
Okay.
my band is, believe it or not, the lead singer has to be Freddie Mercury.
Good call. That's a real good call. That's strong.
Freddie Mercury can do anything, can play the piano as well. So you start off with Freddie Mercury. My rhythm guitar player is none other than, oh, this is Chet. What's that? Mick Mars is my rhythm guitar player from Motley Crue. And he wasn't. So originally when I made this list years ago, he wasn't. Then I watched the movie Dirt, and that guy seems like he's a lot more fun than I realized. I'll do it, drummer. So Mick Mars is my rhythm guitar player. My lead guitar player is Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, because we're forming that kind of band now. Remember,
Okay.
it's that kind of band. So Freddie Mercury is going to be a metal singer for me, who also sings pop opera. So he'll sing like opera metal. And then my bass player, my bass player is Matt Freeman from Rancid. You guys may have never heard of him, but if you listen to any Rancid album and you start to pick out the bass lines, he is in many ways a lead bass player. But he's not Les Claypool. Les Claypool from Primus is a bass player that is ridiculously stupid good. He failed in his audition for Metallica because they said they didn't need a lead bass player. He was too good for Metallica. So that's my bass player. And my drummer is also pulled from Motley Crue, the only band that gets two, and that's Tommy Lee, because he's one of the best drummers ever. So that's my band. And they are going to be awesome.
I got mine. That's a good band. I'm going with number one, my lead singer. I'm going with John Mayer, because he can give you soul, blues, pop, and possibly a little lighter of a rock side. Also, he can play lead guitar, so I'm killing two birds with one stone. Then on the keys, I'm going to have Stevie Wonder on the keys, because he's a multi-instrumentalist. He also played drums on Superstition. So, but he can play Wurlitzer, he can play organ, he can play piano, and he's also an incredible jazz keyboard player. And he can sing background vocals. So I got great, because I'm looking for a 3-part harmony in this band. On the bass, I'm going with Victor Wooten.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously one of the greatest bass players of all time. On secondary guitar, because I already have lead guitars, but on secondary guitar, I think I have to go with, oh man, I think on secondary guitar in my band, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna either go with one of the Joes, Satriani or Bonamassa.
You can't go wrong.
Nope.
I'll probably go with Satriani, just in case if I want to get a little bit heavier, he can take us down that road. And then on drums, I think I'm gonna have to go with Tony Royster Jr.
Oh,
Absolutely incredible. And that's my band.
that's
We're
a
gonna
good
sell
band.
1 million records.
All right. My band, obviously my singer is also Freddie Mercury. He's my favorite singer of all time, so he can do anything. He's going to be on there, and my drummer is going to be Tommy Lee also. But my lead guitarist is going to be Randy Rhoads. It's unbelievable. And then for bass and rhythm, I want guys who can sing well, also, and so it's to kind of get that harmony you're talking about, and who will jive well with Freddie. So I'm going to go with Izzy Stradlin. He's from Guns N' Roses. In case you guys don't know him, I actually ended up singing a lot for Axl anyway. His voice was always shot. And then my bass player is going to be Geddy Lee from Rush. So I think that the three of those guys coming in with vocals, with Tommy and Randy kind of leading the way, leading the charge and the thump. I'd love to see that band perform, and it'd probably be some alternative rock or something like that. Of course, with Freddie in there, you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, you can be
Doesn't
rocking.
it suck that we'll never be able to hear these bands?
Yeah.
It's sad. Like, I really want to hear everybody's bands.
Matt?
Yeah, I'm having to, look this up a little bit, but I think I might be, I think I might be onto something. I'll give it a go. I'm missing a guitar player, but that's okay. So here we go. Ready? All right, drummer, right, from Rush, John Howard Rutsey, right, from Rush. Then you have the rhythm guitar. I'm gonna throw in a little Chuck Berry.
Ah,
Nice.
For the vocals, I'm gonna call in Axl Rose, just because, right?
yeah.
He's got that range, right? For the bass, because I was being rushed a little bit. Paul McCartney, because why not, right?
Right.
I almost picked him as my bassist just so that we had a songwriter.
And
Not
this
because he's
is-
a good bassist.
Yeah, and just to stir things up, right? We'll put a little Elton John on the piano, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
We're gonna cover everything.
Gotta have the padding. Gotta have the padding.
That's awesome. Neil Peart's the drummer for Rush.
Yeah.
Is that who you said?
No, maybe I said someone else. John Howard Rutsey? I don't know.
Oh,
This
John
is what
Rutsey.
Google-
Yeah. He was.
this is what-
Yeah, he was the drummer before Neil Peart in Rush. And Rush replaced him with probably arguably one of the best drummers ever. So
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say he's probably the second best drummer in the whole world. But yeah,
I didn't say best. I said arguably one of.
Okay, yeah. You're right.
It's hard to say best because best is really an opinion in many cases. It's
I
like,
don't know, but I think Neil Peart is one. Like,
yeah, he's in the conversation.
Oh yeah.
All right, Kate.
Oh my gosh, so this was a difficult question, mostly because I don't really know what everyone plays and their strengths. But I guess 3 people that I would like to see make a song one day together, and I don't know if this would ever happen, but I would like to see Elton John co-write with Ed Sheeran, and then throw in like someone really American, like Ben Rector, who just like kind of has the same like lyric style.
hey, did you just say Ben Rector?
Yes, Ben Rector.
Hey, we just became best friends.
He's
Bad boy.
one of the best. Also, one of
He's
the
a
best
bad
shows I've
boy.
ever.
He didn't get enough credit. He's a bad boy.
Absolutely, but his like entire concert environment kind of reminds me a little bit of Elton John. So I bet you if they work together on like a very theatrical performance, I have a feeling it would be incredible. But I don't really know who would play what or what their strengths would be or who else would need to accompany them. But those would be 3 people for sure.
So, some of the, when you think of all these artists coming back, it's hard. Paul McCartney was almost my first choice every time for bass player. I had to think, if I'm doing a hard band, man, this guy's not going to play hard bass. If I had to do a more mellow band, Paul McCartney would be my first choice because he's a singer, he's a songwriter, and he played bass. There's other famous bass players that sang. And Mitch Mitchell was tough. I wanted him for a drummer. He was the drummer for Jimi Hendrix. He's he goes into that Neil Peart category.
What's his name?
Mitch Mitchell.
Huh.
Mitch Mitchell.
I got
Amazing. He had to keep up with Jimi Hendrix. that by itself is,
he's a bad drummer.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so those, there's a lot of honorable mentions in there. Guitar players are tough because I've given it a little more thought, but thinking personality too. Who's going to sit on a tour bus with each other and
That was a good pain.
you got to think about that. And so how does that work out? And some personalities are larger than life by themselves, and you don't want to put too many personalities around them.
Right.
That's what makes bands fun.
I think my band is gonna meet at the concert.
Hey guys, good musicians though. Joe knows. Joe's one of them.
Are they going to show
musicians
up
can
on
do
time?
that. Yeah, they can. Well, Well, we're at the top of the hour, and anybody have a question they want to ask before we close this out? Anything we missed?
On doing the watch party on my side, Angie Santos, if you guys remember her, right?
Yeah.
There's
Love her.
2 questions. One of them is, what's an experience you'll never forget? And the other one is, share an embarrassing story. So I don't know if we want to take one of those questions and kind of spin that to the musical atmosphere, but those are 2 questions on my feed.
What was the first one?
What's an experience you'll never forget?
So, in related to music, I think an experience I'll never forget, having been to so many concerts in music. I'll do a more recent one. We went recently to see the Turnpike Troubadours, and man, that's such a good band, and I'm sad that they're really not performing anymore, but that's an experience I won't forget. It's one of the very few times that I didn't care who was around me, and I danced the entire time by myself, just by myself to every song. And I wasn't drunk. I was completely out of my mind. I just, for the first time in a really long time, actually since high school, when we used to go to those old punk shows, just let the music just take me over and dance to it. And I didn't care what anybody thought. I'm sure somebody was behind me filming me thinking this guy's crazy. I didn't care. And so I think that a recent experience that was wonderful for me.
There was an experience I had in high school. As a senior, I needed an extra class, so I decided to take choir. I've never taken choir before. And the choir instructor at the time decided that it would be a good idea for us to put on a musical. I don't even know I can't even remember what the musical was, but I remember him basically saying, if you want to pass this class, you have to have one of these roles, which happened to be a role that required me to go on stage and have a bit of a solo with three of my friends, right? We're all in the same boat.
That's awesome.
I don't remember the song. I don't remember everything. I just remember, for someone that never, ever had to, on stage by myself, sing, was terrifying in the moment, a little bit embarrassing, because at the same time, right, think a younger version of me, about, I don't know, 50 pounds lighter, having to wear this Hawaiian style shirt that had this low button to purposely show off the chest that I did not have, in front of a audience full of friends and people in the auditorium of our high school. So embarrassing and musical, that comes to mind.
That's cool.
Oh, go ahead.
An experience that I'll never forget is actually last year. I saw Ben Rector at the Majestic Theater in San Antonio, or the Aztec Theater, maybe. I don't know, one of the venues here. And I was in the very front row with a few of my friends, and there was this random girl sitting next to me, and I asked her if she wanted to start the wave. It was like maybe 20 minutes before Ben Rector came on, or the opener came on. And yeah, we felt really dumb at first because it was just the two of us throwing our hands up in the air and like passing the message along. And it took about 10 minutes before we knew it. We got the whole like venue to participate in the wave with us.
Nice.
So that was honestly one of the best moments of my life. And it kind of reminds me, in our mentoring class, we talked about like the lone nut experiment. The one person does something crazy, everyone joins in. That's exactly how that felt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think for me, musically, and not just musically, I think just in life, one of the greatest things happened. My band and I, we were competing in the Schreiner Life Battle of the Bands competition, and we won it. And there was my tour manager at the time was telling me there was this guy that kept looking at me, and he had a swastika tattooed on the back of his head. And the thing about my band is at the time, we were very multicultural. We had white, black, Hispanic, and all just share such a strong brotherhood. And after the show, I'm sitting at the bar, and he walks up to me, and he, tells me where he's from and who he is. And so instantly, y'all know me, I'm a nice guy, but I'm kind of swollen in the chest a little bit about it, just in case if he tries to get out of hand or anything. And he tells me, man, I just wanted to come shake your hand and say thank you, because you shown me something I've never seen. I don't even know you guys, but I can tell all of y'all are brothers. And I just want to say, man, I'm thank y'all so much for letting me see them. And it was the coolest thing I've ever experienced. It's two reasons. Number one, I realized, like, wow, man, our music really does. There's a sense of responsibility in music that you put out, because a lot of times we're so busy going up and down the road trying to make records and trying to make good records, but you forget, wow, some of your music actually touches people, and there's a strong responsibility for that. So, like, it was the most beautiful thing that's ever happened to me just in my career, probably honestly in my life.
That's cool. Wow. I don't know how I'm gonna top that, Joe. You probably should have looked at that.
It's the one we should have ended on, Joe.
Man, no, for me, I guess my favorite, surrounding music, used to be back in the old SFA days. We were at Jack Camp, and Charlie and I and Ryan and whoever else would get on the announcement PAs that went to all the different cabins and stuff like that, and we give the morning announcements, and we would sing all these crazy songs by Strong Bad and Homestar Runner and all that kind of stuff. And it was the first time I really ever performed anything, but it was so much fun, and people would come in and they would tell us, like, "Oh my God, you guys are insane." But that was the first time I ever sang anything, really, and so it was a lot of fun for me. And I still remember, though, I go back and play those old videos and sing those songs. But so yeah, that tied with any of the chants or the singing that we used to do back in those old days in Purple Haze and stuff like that. All the singing we used to do, that was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, all right, guys. Thank you for joining us tonight and for being with us as we talk about music. We'll have to do another episode soon. We might do one where we bring people on to play a song and bring different people. Joey, that might be a good one for you to grab your guitar.
Yeah, let me know. I'd love to.
That'd be awesome. Well, I'm gonna sign us off.